So the Miami Heat didn't exactly have the perfect start to the series, where they lost by 20 points, they were down by 30, they couldn't generate any kind of offense, they couldn't crack 100 points, and on the other end, they let the Celtics do whatever they wanted, however they wanted, and just completely dominate the game on both ends of the floor. And this was exactly the kind of the game you didn't want to see as a Heat fan. You may have not thought that they would have won the game, because they were missing the best player, they were on the road, it was going to be tough regardless, but you also didn't want to see the Heat just getting dominated right from the start, have the game be over before it started. You wanted them to see it put up a fight, and that kind of didn't happen. So I just want to go through how exactly the Heat came out on both ends, how the Celtics managed to dominate, how they managed to hit so many threes, what the Heat were doing that allowed them to get those shots, and on the other end, how they weren't able to put up 100 points again in the playoffs. So let's just go through both ends of the floor, starting with the defensive breakdown. So defensively, the Heat just got cooked by the three, and it was a deliberate choice with the Heat choosing to send doubles, put two on the ball, send help, over help especially as well. Out of any action, whether it was a Tatum ISO post up, a Brown post up, Kristaps pick and roll, they put two on the ball almost every single time, and that just put the Heat in rotations every single time. And with the rotations also not being that sharp, that gave the Celtics wide open look after wide open look. And after the first quarter, they were making those threes as well. And once the Celtics make threes, there's nothing else you can do. Before entering the fourth, the Celtics had a 132 offensive rating. They shot 90 for 43 from the 3-point line, 40 for 26 inside, and they only had 22 points in the paint. But when you're taking such wide open looks and making them, there's no reason to do anything else. When you have three straight somehow as a corner threes, there is no reason to attack when you're getting a perfect look as you can get. So we'll be going through some of the looks that I got from those aggressive defense, from those overhelping, and how those threes came about. Because that's how most of their threes got. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Over 15 threes came from that kind of defense, where they just got, when they put two on the ball, it was a kick or a skip, swinging the ball, and getting a wide open look. So let's just go through some of the clips right now. We start off early in the game. You have Jovic on Tatum, and it's a pick and roll. That's a switch. It's a Kristaps post up against Jovic. You have Bam quickly coming to help. You also have these rotations not being sharp. Jaime should have been hit already. He's way too late. That's way too low as the pass is moving, and because of that, Drew gets a wide open three. This was a better possession with the help. It's again same similar thing in a post up. You have Derek White setting a cross screen for Tatum. Set up a Tatum post up for Caleb. You have Jaime showing help, stunting, recovering. Then it's a double. It's a good help from everywhere. You have good help from Bam stunting, Hero stunting as well. Defense resets. Is 4 on the clock. But then you again have Hero showing help here. Again, that's on Jaime. Jaime should have realised here that he needs to be higher once Hero is showing help. Because that's again just one pass. And it's a look. Here it's a pick and roll. Oh, this was a good possession from the Celtics. It's a pick and roll with White and Kristaps. Puts two on the ball right here. Kristaps popping. That forced Bam to recover. Good recovery. Drive. Flow into another pick and roll. Now it's a Kristaps roll. Again, you have two on the ball here with Bam and Hayward on Brown. That forces Hero to tag. Open skip to the Peyton Pritchard in the corner. Again, that's all down because of putting two on the ball in pick and rolls. Forcing out rotations. You made a good one on the first one. Then just flow into it again. This time Kristaps rolls. Forces a tag. And it's an open three. So even if you execute well on the first one, it's putting too much pressure to keep doing that same thing over and over again. Here it's another pick and roll. You have Pritchard driving baseline, forces Jovic to help, puts two on the ball again, open pop to Kristaps. Just too easy. It's the same thing over and over again. Here they go into zone, they isolate Tatum or not Duncan in the post up. Dillon comes to double, kick, swing. There's some rotations as well, except on the last one. Here you have Love having to cover Horford there. It's a pinning screen as well. It's an open three. Similar thing here. I think again in the zone. Drew drives. Now it was 4 defenders here. And it's a wide open script on the other end. It's just the same thing over and over again. Same thing here. Tatum post up against Duncan. Help is showing. Double. Skip. Great. That was a great skip pass from Tatum. Because that's a good rotation here from Hero. Jaime. Good idea to quickly cover Pritchard. But then that's another pass right there. That forces Bam to rotate again. Too late this time, and it's another open three. Here was a good idea with Tatum hunting the Hero on a pick and roll. They don't want to switch, but again that puts 2 on the ball. Duncan's also ready to help. Horford cuts through, and that's another open skip to Hauser in the corner. Hauser just cooked them with that same corner off Tatum. And it's again just the same thing when it comes to putting 2 on the ball. No one to have any isolations, any post-ups being so in single coverage. And with some of the rotations also not being as sharp, especially with Jaime, that's an open look after open look. Here it's a Hero, so another pick and roll. Puts 2 on the ball shortly. And that's all it does. It just shortly puts 2 on the ball, wide open pop for Kristaps. That wasn't that bad of a defense. Jovic also recovered well, but it's just another easy open look for Kristaps. Here it's another Kristaps pop. Same thing. Puts 2 on the ball slightly. Too late on the contest, and it's another open three. Here it was another over. This time it's over helping on the drives. We first had a over help here. Now Brown forced help on here. Jaime recovers, but gets beat on the closeout. That forces Jovic to helping off the strong side corner, and it's an open kick. Just too easy. Here it's the same thing. This is where I didn't get a defense from the Heat. You have Bam on Tatum. That was a change in the second half where Bam was on Tatum more, but the defense around the team was still the same. You still had that overhelping. There was no need to overhelp on a drive defended by Bam. That's what you have from Jaime, and it's an easy kick. Again, you also don't have Caleb in the right position. He's also overhelping, and it's a wide open kick. Here it's this was a good defensive rotations against the Tatum hunting Hero. Jovic comes to double kick. Everyone rotates well. Everyone takes away shots. Jaime out of position, but then it ends in Jaime being out of position. Us again being put in rotation so often puts so much pressure on the defense. It has less margin of error where everyone has to do everything so perfectly, because when it doesn't, Jaime just sinks down for too much, and it's a wide open kick to Brown for free. Here it's it was a Kristaps open three after nail help. Again, requiring that help on the drive. Why? There's no need to have that early help right there. There was no one else as well to be able to stunt. So that's another open three. Except Kristaps just took a step back for no reason. But that was the Heat's defense when it comes to threes. It all starts with that not wanting to have any action be single coverage, not having any drives, not requiring help, and that just put Heat in rotations every single time. And the off-ball defense also wasn't as good. Jaime really kind of struggled with being in a good position, and that's how the Celtics managed to get 19 good threes, and that's essentially game for the most part. Now we'll be looking at some of the ISOs because they did adjust later in the game with how they defended with having Bam on Tatum. They did opt for some of the single coverage, not requiring doubles. That was only in small bursts, and the Celtics actually still made them pay with tough shot making. So we'll be just going through some of those clips now. So we're starting with the first possession of the game. This ended up being a miss from Tatum, but you can see how easy of a looks they could get without the double coming quickly. It's another cross screen for Tatum to set up for the post up against Caleb, and he just quickly attacks. Hero is showing help, but he spins baseline, gets to the rim. That's how easy it was. Brown had the same thing in the next possession as well. But when they didn't send help, it was kind of food for everyone. You also had these two possessions with Kristaps on Hero in transition with cross match. That happened a couple of times, and that's just Kristaps being too tall from Hero. No help coming apart from showings. Just quickly goes up, rises up above him. Same thing here. Hero cross matched against Kristaps in transition, give him the ball. No help, no double, and quick rises up against him. You also had these elbow touches for Tatum against Hayward. Help is showing. You can see Delon off the corner from Hauser, Duncan off Drew at the nail. No double, so just goes right up, gets a clean look. Same thing here. It's this time it's same thing. Elbow touch for Jaime. No doubles coming. Just rise up above him. Same thing here against Hayward. Except you also put up like to avoid those helps, but you still having Bam preventing that drive here potentially. You have Hero potentially preventing the drive here. No double, just rises up above him. And that was the Heat's isolation defense when they didn't come to double. They were showing help on drives, but that just didn't matter with Tatum and Kristaps rising above and hitting those mid-range shots. And you see in the game 2 breakdown where the Heat adjusted by having more of those looks. That's playing the numbers game. That's whether you want to have those mid-range shots from Kristaps and Tatum, or would you rather have Sam Hauser cooking and Drew White cooking from 3-point line. But that was how the defense looked for the Heat for the most part. It was all about overhelping, all about sending doubles, and you'll see the adjustments being made in the games 2, where they managed to limit those threes and just lived by those isolation post-ups from the mid-range. So offensively, this was always going to be a struggle, and it was going to be a struggle way before this series even started, considering they were without Jimmy Butler and Terry Rozier. And because of that, we knew how they were going to get the offense. It's been 3 or 4 so years without Jimmy Butler, where we know how the Heat get the offense, where there's no rim pressure, there's a bunch of mid-range shots, bunch of isolations, and taking and hoping to make a lot of threes. And so before the fourth quarter, almost 40% of their shots came outside of the rim and to the 3-point line. They took 45% of their shots from the 3-point line, and it also didn't help that they made only 5. They shot 18% from the 3, and that's going to be impossible to put up any kind of points. They also only had 2 people get into the line, which was Bam and Jovic twice, and there was just no other way to get any kind of points. So with no rim pressure, no easy baskets, no ways to put in the defense in rotation, plus struggling to make any kind of free, that's how you get barely reaching 90 points in 2024. But those were also the looks that the Celtics schemed for. It's exactly how they wanted to play this game, where they took away the paint, they took away the rim, all of the pick and rolls off the dribble. They defended it well. Tyler Hero had nowhere else to go. There was no drives available, no way of putting their defense in rotations. They helped on drives. They also encouraged tough isolation baskets without sending help. That's why you saw Bam went off for 24 points, because he had those looks against Kristaps, against Horford, where they just let him to cook. Now, there are a few things to get through in this offense. and comparing it how that looked in game 2, because the offense pretty much looked the same. They got most of the looks that they wanted. They just couldn't make those shots. They just dialed up the threes in game 2 as well. So for this breakdown, we'll be going through hero pick and rolls, bow isolations, and looking at the threes they got, plus looking at Jaime. So when it comes to the threes that they were getting, they got the looks that they took in game 2. The way they set a franchise record with 23 threes, those were the looks that they got in game 1. They just couldn't make them. They were 5 for 28 before the fourth quarter. And a lot of the looks were the same. We started off in the first quarter with a hero pick and roll. But first you can see here, off the dribble, he tried to drive, and you already have Kristaps dropping, Tatum already helping as well, Drew preventing him to use a screen. So you just flow into a handoff, Kristaps again in drop, wide open look. Those are the threes that he made in game 2. Here this time it's a Duncan Bam handoff, pick and roll again. Horford in drop, 3 points. This time goes in. Here it's a Caleb transition 3-point, wide open look. Just they couldn't make those shots in game 1. Similar thing here, another Bam handoff. And these are also the looks that everyone else took in game 2 and made it. Help on the drives, kick, Jovic wide open for 3. Hero in transition, miss. In the threes were there, the looks were there. It's exactly what they did in game 2 that set the franchise record. Here's another Caleb wide open 3 of miscommunication. Just got to make them. You have to make those shots. There's no other way of getting points. And you can see in the fourth quarter, that's when they scored 35 points. And the only difference is them making threes. Because look at the looks they were getting. Transition, Dillon right in the corner, wide open, makes. Here it's a off ball for Dillon. Screens, pops, miscommunication, wide open again. Dillon had 5 threes, again in transition, wide open. If the Heat want to put up any kind of fight, these are the looks they have to make. And if they don't, and if the Celtics will make their shots, there is no other way of generating any kind of offense. They didn't make those threes in game 1, so they struggled to score points. There's just no way about it. You either hope the Celtics miss, or you need to match them with your own firepower from 3. Now we'll be going through some of the pick and rolls from Tyler Hero and how the Celtics defended it. He had one of his best games in the pick and roll in game 2, but in game 1 you can see the struggles and how I think he still didn't know that the defense was going to play him like that. That's why he didn't seem to make those kind of same reads as he did in game 2. But you can see how aggressively the Celtics defended his drives and forced those 3-point looks. Immediately in game 1, say Hero Bam pick and roll. Drew's doing a good job going over the screen, not giving him any room. Kristaps and drop. Again, you can see Brown's already up here. He's already at the elbow, just waiting for him to drive. But this time, Hero's immediate read is to make that pocket pass to Bam, and you go into a mid-range fade from Bam. But in game 2, it was more about making their reads to the 3-point line, because the Celtics want to force those kind of looks. They want to make those kickouts available, as Brown and a lot of them say. They want to make those the shooters they want to shoot. So in this pick and roll, when Brown helps off, that should be a kick. That should have been a kick to Jaime, and that's what the looks they want to make. They want to give up. In the next one, similar thing here. It's a double pick and roll with Tyler and Bam and Jaime. Chris engages too perfectly, makes the read here, and this is the hesitation from Jaime. They run this exact play in game 2 with Jaime, I think, making that shot. Here instead he hesitates allows Kristaps to recover, and that's just a contested mid-range now. There is no point hesitating like this. That needs to be a free right away from Jaime. Similar thing here. Pritchard is not giving him any room. Goes under, recovers well. But again, no room anywhere. Kristaps are ready to help Horford in drop. White's on the tag. And Hero just goes for contested mid-range. When he could have waited, reach free and then find the overs on a lift with White tagging. Or he could have made a kick to Jaime, one pass away right here. Instead, it's a contested mid-range shot. That's another look they Celtics would live with. Another thing I think they made a difference in game 1 and 2 is instead of having Hero on the ball with doing those pick and rolls off the dribble, it was more just handoffs. Because when he's on the ball, you allow Pritchard, Drew, White to really press up, not give him any room. Here he manages to beat him, gets right to the rim. Bam does a good job with slipping already, takes Horford away, and that's a wide open drive to the rim. But those drives to the rim are rare. Those are not things that happen with the Celtics often, especially given this team, given the players on the Heat, that they can't do that consistently to get into the rim. So that's not a thing you can rely on. That's why I think you need to go into handoffs. You need to double down and triple down on those kind of looks instead of going into pick and rolls, having Pritchard and Drew just harassing ball handlers like this. Here it's another pick and roll. It looks to drive baseline. But you have Drew just ignoring Duncan right here. That should be a kick right away. That should be another pass right there. Instead, he picks up the ball and it's a turnover. Those are the reads Hero was making easily in game 2. And I think that's just coming with prep. You recognise those reads. Watching those pick and rolls in game 1, he'd noticed those looks were wide open. And after we'll be going through game 2 later today, and you'll see those same pick and roll actions, but getting those wide open threes. Here it's a Hero Bam handoff in the corner. But again, Kristaps in drop. Drew fights over, and it's a pocket pass. Bam is going for a contested mid-range with 3 defenders in his face. He has Caleb right there. He has Jovic right there. He makes it, but those are the shots you can live with if you're Celtics. Because at that point, it's also a numbers game. You're giving up 2s for 3s. The Heat shot 59% from 2. And it just did not matter if you can't match the Celtics with the 3s. And they were not getting those 3s out of those pick and rolls consistently. Here's a Hero Jovic pick and roll. Again, you can see no room at all. Pritchard does a good job. Defended it. Tatum shows. Wasted possession. Flows into just a tough Caleb 3. Here it's another possession of the same thing. It just sees so much help on his drives. He makes a read here to Jaime for 3. Just can't make it. In game 2, that same play happened again as well, except you just make it. So for Hero and anyone else, whether it's Bam or Duncan, out of those handoffs, pick and rolls, you need to go for those 3s. If the Celtics continue to give up those looks, preventing those drives, you need to first make those reads to get those 3-point looks, and then hope you can make them. Now, continue with the whole mid-range talk and the 2s and the 3s, playing a math game. The Celtics opted in to play single coverage against Bam's isolation and post-ups. He was getting whether he wanted against Kristaps, against Horford. He was cooking in that mid-range, in that paint area. And they just let him. Because again, you're giving up 2s and then getting 3s. And you're also probably banking that Bam won't be shooting 60% from the paint just for the whole series. And even if he does, that's still looks you kind of want. Defense has to give up something. And if you're giving up an isolation where there's no ball movement, no 3s, no rim pressure, then that has to be a win for the defense. Because you can see a lot of the isolations, it is just him going at Kristaps, going at Horford, mid-range, isolated, pull up. Here it's a Caleb Bam pick and roll, leads to nowhere. just slowly just flow into a Bam isolation again. Help just stunts but doesn't come. It's another mid-range shot. Is here. If Bam does have these isolations, single coverage, this needs to be more. He needs to get to the rim. He needs to beat him easily off the dribble. Even those fakes, like, he needs to get himself on the line because you can't afford Bam getting to the line that. If it's just taking those mid-range shots, you can live with that. If he has Horford and Kristaps, he just needs to punish them in a different way. Those are good shots when the offense bogs down and you need something, especially in the fourth quarter. That happened in game 2. But that can't be the offense that you rely on consistently. And in these matchups, he just needs to attack Kristaps and Horford. He can't just be settling on those looks. Because we've seen that last year in the conference finals where he was cooking them. He was cooking them off the dribble, getting to, whether it was Robert Williams then and Horford, he was getting to the rim. And at that point, the Celtics did adjust and have him seeing doubles. That again opens up shots in the same way the Heat giving up threes. But I don't see the Celtics adjusting to stop Bam cooking in the mid-range unless he makes that adjustment of getting to the rim consistently, getting those easy looks, getting to the foul line. So finally, we're going to Jaime Jaquez Jr., who I think could be a big game changer for this series going forward on offense. He's one of the only guys that could consistently turn a corner, get to the rim, and attack in different ways. He can go into a post up, he can go into the isolation, punish smaller guys, he can help in a non-hero Bam offense. He could help not being reliant on those threes as well. He had so many isolations, post ups, and pick and rolls that led to good things in the process wise, just didn't have the great result. Some of the reads from him, whether it was a forced shot or turnover, that hurt. But those could improve. Whether he's just slowing things down, finishing out the rim. He had some of easy looks at the rim that just were misses. But he could be a big difference maker because he can replicate somewhat of what Jimmy did to a lesser extent. But we've seen him do these things throughout the season. He had that game against the Sixers where he cooked in a post to the rim. He had that game against the Kings. He can be a big difference maker, especially in the bench units where they bring Sam Hauser, bring Peyton Pritchard, where he can punish those matchups. And if the Celtics choose to play single coverage like what they do with Bam, he's able to get those easy looks. He's able to get those both feet in the paint and potentially draw more defense and put the Celtics defense in rotations. So let's just go through some of the clips. A lot of it is just with him going to the post here, isolated, everyone clear, no help coming, just goes for that mid-range. Here, he already sees a difference here. Horford is showing and comes to double when he has a Pritchard. These are the looks, the reads out have to get better, especially he finds Bam on a cut, just needs to make a better pass. Bam also needs to handle better, but those actions could lead to good things. Let's just say that pass is made better. Here, Bam would get the ball. Either Kristaps has to help. That's an open pass to Jovic. Either White helps. That's an open kick to Hayward. Either Brown is early in there. That's a kick to Hero. There are more opportunities coming out of a Jaime post up that draws defenses, and that just came from hunting mismatches. Here it's a Love Jaime pick and roll, and you can see him. He gets the same treatment where the defense is just showing hard. These kind of things just needs to also improve. If it's a switch, reset, just pass it to Hayward quickly, get the ball out of your hands. There's no need to pivot around the elbow just against Tatum. There was a mismatch with Love against Hauser. You have to recognise that, just make a quick read. But I think those are things that Jaime could easily do. He has shown that he's a good decision maker, can make those reads easily. Here it's another post up against Hauser this time. Help is showing. You can see Tatum already has basically both feet in the paint, but Jaime just attacks Hauser easily, gets to the rim. Those are the looks you can't give up when you're the Celtics. Those are the looks that you have to help on. And you can see Tatum already recognized that. And if Jaime can see that help coming, that was an easy kick to Love, and that's more threes for the Heat. Here is another Love pick and roll. Good job going over the first screen, coming back again. Now just attacks Tatum, good spin. That's a look. That's a good look for Jaime. Just needs to make it. Another thing that I love about Jaime, it's this. How he pushes pace and just puts his head down, gets to the rim. Easy. He's had that. He's had two of those looks as well, especially in transition. Those are the looks that he and the Heat need to get. You need to get whatever offense you can have, especially at the rim. And a Jaime drive to the rim in transition is one of the best things you can have. Here's the Jaime Bam handoff. Look how easily he is able to turn the corner, gets right to the rim for an easy shot. That's again looks you can't give up that easily. That would force Kristaps to come help. That opens up something else, opens up a kick, opens up Bam. But that again puts pressure on the rim, and that just forces the defense to do something instead of relying on tough shot making in the mid range. Another thing here, gets a nice shot against Brown. But these are the looks I think he needs to slow down and sees what's happening. Attacks Brown, looks to fade here, and you can see Drew was already coming to help. That's a wide open kick to Hero. That's another wide open three. Either White comes to rotate, that's a kick to Jovic. He can attack. That's a shot at the rim. Or Jovic could cut as well, even open up Hero more. If White goes to Hero, then that's an open cut to Jovic. Except that just starts with with Jaime making better decisions in isolations, in post-ups. Here it's this also like this from Jaime. He's a really good off-ball player, and these are the things that he will also need. Have him cut, be active, and just get those easy looks. Similar thing here, just an active screener, cuts, that forces the defense to react, and it opens up Hero for wide open three. Jaime could be a big difference maker because of how he pressures the rim, how he's able to do it in post-ups, isolations, or pick and rolls, whether it's in transition as well, and making those off-ball movement cuts or screens, making the defense react. He could open up shots for himself or create those easy looks for free and make the defense in rotations. So that was it for game one. Defensively, that was a struggle. That was not a good defensive scheme to have doubles, overhelp, giving up so many open threes. The rotations went sharp. Just a bad defensive game from the Heat. And as we saw, that improves drastically in game two. Having the matchup switch with Bam on Tatum, that was a huge one. Not helping as much, playing more single coverage, holding your own against Kristaps, against Tatum, against Brown. That all helped. So we'll be going through all of that, all of the changes, and how they managed to slow down a historic offense. And offensively, they just made more threes than what we saw here. It was the same thing, it was the same plan, except they just doubled down more on it. We saw less of Hero pick and roll off the dribble with him just missing those reads. In game two, we will see more of those same actions of being handoffs and him just recognizing those reads much snappier, much quicker, and more importantly, we will see just the Heat make shots. Because we saw that in fourth quarter where they scored 35 points, and that was mainly because they just made more threes. Whether it was in transition or the same looks Hero got that just he made. So yeah, this was my breakdown of the game one of the Eastern playoffs against the Heat and the Celtics.